promised a couple days ago when I did my Office Depot haul video that I would also post an overview of these two planners. They are from the 2017 At a Glance collection. That's actually a series, collection with a capital C, that they came out with, I think, for 2015. I don't remember now. I know that I purchased the tan colored daily planner they offered that year. It was the first year whatever year they did, they offered it. I purchased that layout and really liked the daily layout. Every day of the week had its own page, which was really nice. It seemed reasonably thick or thin, depending on your point of view, for a planner that had a page for every day. And the cover was, simple, and I liked the layout. And unfortunately, I didn't even get to start writing in it because I have really struggled with the front cover, and the back cover would consistently get caught on the spiral. Like you couldn't even close it. It wasn't just a matter of you had to mess with it to close it. You just couldn't close it. And so I ended up returning it and then writing a review on their website. And I don't think I've seen that planner since, so that was kind of interesting. This model here, last year they had, I think, navy blue as their faux linen look. I have to say I'm not a huge fan of the texture of these. The paper is very dry and not a fan. So why did I pick up this planner? Well, I picked it up because this is the first year that I've seen they're starting to come out with more of them that are fairly close to the 5.5 by 8.5 inch size, the half letter that's common here in the US. And when I looked at it, the way this is structured, I figured it wouldn't be too hard to pick out the stitching. It's stitched down the middle here. Pick out the stitching, trim it down the middle, and use these pages in a ring binder because I'm crazy like that. I regularly chop up bound books. So here's their little overview on what the planner is. A 3-year reference calendar. Notice this page actually isn't as big as the whole cover. The tabs reach out to the side. So 3 years, place for your personal information, and then we launch right into a month on 2 pages. Now the tabs for these are labeled, but they're not laminated, so I wouldn't consider this to be super sturdy. I would maybe either put packing tape over them myself or just accept that they're really very temporary pages. I like that they are a Sunday to Saturday view. I was a long time fan of the Monday to Sunday view for monthly, and then my kids went to school, and every sheet of paper that comes home with a planning calendar for activities and school are all Sunday to Saturday. And after about 3 years of consistently writing things on the wrong date, I've given up. I've given in. There's this nice checklist area over here that you can write on. It's a little narrow, but it's not too bad. And they seem to have given a fairly good amount of space to these days. And if you look, Tuesday and Wednesday are wider. And the way Tuesday's laid out, I think they use this planner layout in a spiral bound because they left room for the gutter. So I think I'll very easily be able to take that, 5 3/8, so basically 1/8 of an inch off to make it a 5.5 by 8.5, assuming I just did that math right. So week view looks like this. It's actually 2 weeks per view, and I really was intrigued by this. We've got an area Monday through Sunday, which I do like for the week view, and then a task area that's fairly wide. I'd like it if it was a little further over. One of the really things I like about At a Glance planners is they're very good about putting both the US and the Canadian holidays, and I need both as I have family in Canada and I sometimes need to plan around that. And so we've got the month going all the way through the end of January and then into February. And so there we go. So I'm intrigued by this. If I do keep it and use it, it will be probably at work as a work planner. I may or may not chop it up and put it in a ring binder so I can add note paper and other long-term lists, because when you get to the very tail end of the planner, you've got a holiday list. The front page that had that thicker paper, there's like a note page here, 2 note pages on that really thick paper, which I don't think is going to be very easy to write on. This is not the kind of paper that takes ballpoint ink well anyway. And then that's it. And also they used a really wide elastic strap on this, much wider than I've seen for Moleskines or Leuchtturm notebooks. And I can already tell that with very little work, one, the cover is bending and the whole planner is bending because of the tension from this. So if I keep this and use this, it will be probably cut up in another notebook. So that's that model. This model here has a polyurethane cover on it. From what I can tell, doesn't say anything about being real leather, so my assumption is it's faux leather. It's spiral bound. The cover has some give to it, but it also has a little structure. Same paper, but this one's not stiffened. This one's normal paper. And then this, the tabs on it are laminated. Same exact monthly view. So here you can see this is where they left room for the gutter for the spiral. So these two have the exact same print layout. Oops, let's get that. It's just that this one allowed for the gutter, for the cut holes of the spiral. And then we go into the weekly view. I prefer a spiral weekly or a vertical weekly view. I've used it for a number of years, but most of the time it tends to be the skinny narrow columns because they're trying to fit either 6 rows or even 8 rows on paper that's this slim. So you end up with columns like in the Inkwell brick calendars where the week view is just really, really compressed. You know, I mean, this is fairly narrow. I have large, bold handwriting, and it can be a challenge. I often take 2 lines to write something because my writing takes up a lot of space. So this intrigued me because you get the same vertical space for a day, but it's wider. So I think this has some potential. Again, possibly as a work calendar. And then this has the tab months. And I almost feel like I could probably use this one as is, but since they left the extra gutter space, I still might be able to get away with chopping it and punching it and putting it into a classic size planner or A5 planner if I decide to use a 6-hole punch. So this goes all the way through the end of the year, actually well into next year. It goes to, that's interesting, it goes all the way through the month of January. There's no January calendar here. At least I didn't see one. Oh, no, there is. Interesting. There's a non-tabbed January calendar after the December, and then an extra months of planning pages. And then we've got a few extra pages that the other one didn't have. This one has contacts, some notes. Looks like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages of notes, and then a future event calendar for planning for next year, and then the holiday list along with a little pocket. So I really think this could probably work pretty well for work. Still a little struggling to get the thingy closed, but usually if you do that, as long as you don't have anything tucked inside, it's pretty easy to deal with. So these two are definitely under consideration. I would definitely keep them at work rather than at home. I just don't see this being a good fit for what I need to do for home planning. But this does give me a good overview of the week and then a running list of tasks. I mostly organize digitally. Mostly organize digitally at work, but occasionally I when I am fully digital, I still miss having the month view. It's just so much easier for me to keep my eye on longer term projects if I have a sense of where I am in the month as I'm planning things out. And so this is looking, one of these two is looking as a fairly good possibility for work. What's frustrating about shopping for planners is you fall in love with one and you want to try it out right away. And I can't touch these until January. So things to think about. Unfortunately, thanks to a combination of supply and demand and exclusivity these days, when you see something, you got to just grab it and worry about either returning it later or selling it online later, because it's so hard to find what you're looking for later. If you hesitate, in some cases, even just a little bit, you lose out on something like one of the Inkwell planners you might want, or a special cover or whatever. But even a lot of what's at the office supply stores, they're not printing as many. It seems like they're beefing up the number of designs they're offering again, but they're not offering very many. Like, they're not printing a ton of them. And so it seems like they run out of stock well before the new year starts. So I don't really love the idea that I'm buying multiple planners and thinking about whether I want to keep them, but I feel like if I don't, I'm going to end up missing out on something that I would have enjoyed using. So this is sort of a push-pull for me. It's not something I love, accumulating lots of things that I then have to dispose of later in some way. But on the other hand, I've got a few months to figure out whether I want to use these or not. So hopefully this helps someone. Thanks so much for watching.